Clive Hale for ABC Late Edition News. Good evening, thank you for joining us. The tortuous battle for the Bosnian town of Srebrenica is almost at an end. Unconfirmed reports say surrender talks between the Muslim defenders and the Serb attackers are already underway. If Srebrenica falls, it could start a chain reaction, with the towns of Zepa and Gorađe following. They are the three last areas of eastern Bosnia still under Muslim control. The UN is standing by to evacuate Srebrenica if the town is lost, although similar attempts to free the civilians have met with frustration. This report from CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
This was meant to be the UN's biggest evacuation yet. 20 truckloads should have come out of Srebrenica. Instead, there was just one. And when UN relief officials opened it up in Tuzla, they found 6 cowering, frail old people. And they were not from Srebrenica. Muslim authorities there had blocked the evacuation. And as the empty convoy headed out, Serb commanders in the village of Bratunac asked the UN to take these Muslims. They said they had found them wandering around. But when we asked, they all said they'd been held in Serb prisons. Stroking his heavy beard, this old man said he was captured 2 months ago. They all say they were taken when the Serbs took their village. I stayed in my village, he says. Everyone else fled to Srebrenica. But those who couldn't walk there stayed, and the Serbs caught us. UN relief workers say they are disappointed and confused about this turn of events. The local Muslim authorities in Srebrenica say they won't let anyone else out unless the UN first agrees to evacuate all the wounded. But the Serbs are unlikely to let all the wounded out, for among them are Bosnian soldiers. This is not the first time the Muslims have refused to let their people leave Srebrenica, putting their own political needs ahead of humanitarian ones.
Palestinians deported from Israel 4 months ago have come under shell fire as they march into South Lebanon. The 400 Arabs were headed for Israeli positions in the security zone. Israeli troops fired more than a dozen shells and tear gas at the deportees, but there's been no report of injuries. The Palestinians want Middle East peace talks halted until they're free to return home. A short while ago, the marchers stopped for prayers, but have vowed to keep going despite the bombardment. Australia's Attorney-General-in-Waiting will attempt to put the official seal on his cabinet post tomorrow when he finally stands for election to the federal parliament. Labor's Michael Lavarch is favoured to win the by-election for the seat of Dickson in Queensland against the Liberals' Bruce Flegg. And even a late challenge to the validity of the electoral rolls in the seat won't stop the contest from going ahead.
The challenge in the by-election for the Brisbane seat of Dickson is over the validity of the electoral rolls. It arose after 3,000 letters mailed to Dickson voters by the Liberal candidate were returned unclaimed. A Queensland business group, the Enterprise Council, which says it acts as a community watchdog, told the Electoral Commission it will challenge the election result in the High Court, no matter who wins.
It's quite obvious there is an inaccuracy on this roll, which will result in a corrupt election. Now, that's not good enough for Australia.
The Electoral Commission suspects mischief.
I think he's probably taking a heaven-sent opportunity to gather some prominence for the organisation.
But the dispute won't delay a result in Australia's most drawn-out election, postponed from the 13th of March after the death of a candidate. Labor's Michael Lavarch has the advantage of being nominated as Paul Keating's Attorney-General, a move seen by some voters as arrogant.
Some people have actually said to me, well, do we have to still vote? You know, hasn't Keating already made the decision?
But we've come clean with the people. We've told them what our intentions are. To do anything else would have been dishonest. So it's certainly not intended to be arrogant.
9 candidates will contest the election. A 3% swing is needed to unseat Labor and cause a major upset.
The Green movement has set itself a challenge to put the environment back on the political agenda. To this end, they've gathered in the arid landscape of Central Australia to plan their strategy in the wake of a federal election which saw Green issues all but ignored.
It was politically significant that in 1990, political heavyweight Senator Graham Richardson was assigned the task of wooing the Green vote for that federal election to ensure a Labor victory. Just 3 years later, how different the election landscape was, a fact not lost on the Green campaigners.
It's disappointing to see, of course, them trying to back away, but you saw Mr Keating a couple of days before the election come out with his second environment statement in sort of 3 months.
The conservation lobby acknowledges it's an issue that competes with the economy for political attention. In 1993, the challenge for these environmentalists is to get it back on Canberra's agenda.
Certainly we'll be making the government keep its commitments that it made on the environment. There has been a substantial commitment by the federal